The hypocrisy in gaming has never been more pronounced with the release of the Deadpool controller. If you know anything about the Deadpool controller, if you know anything about Deadpool, he's one of the funniest comic book characters out there. And it just makes sense for him to have a controller with his butt cheeks on it. And that is the thing people have been laughing about. I've been enjoying it myself. The marketing for Deadpool has been excellent, but this release of this controller has led to people complaining about the hypocrisy of the situation when it comes to this controller itself. Because if this was any other character, if this was anyone else in the video gaming universe getting this type of controller, arms would be up in the air, and complaints about the over objectification of women would be the prominent talking point in everyone's ears. And I think this is showing the hypocrisy when it comes to these masculinized versions of entertainment properties, including Deadpool and including a whole host of other characters that get a lot of backlash when they appear more attractive and appealing. I'm talking about Bayonetta. If she got this sort of controller, people will be screaming up in arms because the game itself got this same attention when it was released. It was a game that was highly controversial, with a lot of media outlets condemning the game for being too attractive, too appealing to a large male audience. And this came with a larger attack from one of the biggest proponents of the Me Too and overall shaping of Gamergate within the industry, Anita Skarsgård, a person that didn't even play the game but had nothing but complaints for the game itself. And this is the kind of talking points that we've been seeing within the video gaming industry in its entirety, where we have this hypocrisy for female beauty and we don't have the same sentiments for male attributes being presented. And I think that is the biggest schism that we're seeing in the video gaming industry, where we have different rules for different genders. And I think this is kind of flying in the face of the people that are always saying they want equality, but equality ends when objectivity physically comes to the male body. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing with Wolverine and Deadpool. Both Wolverine and Deadpool getting these butt cheek controllers, which I think are fine and dandy. I love it. I think it's funny, it's entertaining, but I think if the shoe was on the other foot, if we got more controllers like this with a lot of the female protagonists within the video gaming industry, I think the same personalities that condemn Bayonetta, condemn Stellar Blade, that condemn Nier Automata with their overall looks and designs, will come out and berate the same people that are cheering this on with Deadpool. And I think that's the hypocrisy that we're seeing in gaming take shape and fold, and overall mass induce this sort of hysteria when it comes to female attractiveness within the video gaming industry. And I don't know, why is it okay for Deadpool and Wolverine to have this objectification, but it's not okay for it to happen to other characters within the video gaming universe? And I think that is the thing that we would see if we did get a Bayonetta controller, which I think is something that the fans deserve if they find it entertaining and interesting and it's in line with the character, because it is in line with the character of Bayonetta to have this controller, much like in the same way it's in line for Deadpool to have this controller in his movie, along with Wolverine. I think it's the same thing if people want to see Cortana with this controller. It's not really in line with the character, but it's in line with the fan base that loved the Halo series. And I think this is a situation that I would love to see come back into the gaming industry, where we're just having fun with these characters because they're not real characters, not symbols of some twisted ideology of what women are, what men are. It's just gamers having fun with the material that is out there. And I think that's a situation that we would see if we were more focused on creating quality games that are there for the entertainment of the gamers themselves. And of course, more highlighted to people that are just in the gaming industry, just looking at this, that are thinking, okay, we see this happening with all games that come out within the industry that have these more slightly attractive, appealing main characters. We saw this with Stellar Blade, where Stellar Blade, it came out to a bunch of controversy from gaming journalists attacking it for having these more beautiful, more attractive, appealing outfits that were more engaging and interactive with the game players than other games that have come out. And I think you see this response from a lot of these activists and a lot of these gaming journalists that have an abject hatred for anything that is appealing to the male gamer base. And you can see this response from an editor for Kotaku, where they say they just want women to be virtually silent, over sexualized dolls. Of course, this is the visceral response that I would expect if we saw something similar happen with Bayonetta or Cortana with the Xbox and the Halo series. I think we would get the same reaction from a whole host of the gaming journalist class that are out there just to attack games that have this attractive, appealing, and objectification that is there to please the fan base that are out there. And these same journalists are having the opposite response with the Deadpool and Wolverine controllers. They're praising it.
which is in complete opposition of the games that have come out that had those attractive, appealing characters. Because these controller types will be completely in line with characters like Bayonetta. Of course, the same with Stellar Blade, this will be completely in line with their characters that have these type of controllers, but the complaints level that these characters will be completely different than Wolverine and Deadpool.
And I think that's the thing that we're seeing with Deadpool and Wolverine. It's there to please the fan base itself because it's in line with the character. It's in line with the world that we're in. And I think it is in line with what we would see in Bayonetta and what we could see in the Halo series, where people would really buy this and have fun with these controllers and joke around about it like they do with the Deadpool controllers. I think we can see this kind of being excellently crafted in a way where people would engage with the franchise in a positive way. I think with the Metroid one, Metroid is going too far because it's mainly a Nintendo game and Nintendo just doesn't do that. And I think that's the situation where I say, okay, that's a little too far for me. But I think this response that we see here is the opposite of what we would see if a game like Concord did something similar with the male characters. It doesn't do something similar with the main characters, but it's getting the praise of these gaming journalists and activists out there because it's doing everything they want it to do. It's producing the type of characters that they want to see, that don't have the beauty standards that attract actual gamers to play your games. It has the standards that is acceptable to them, that they see as a standard that we all should follow. And I think that's the case with this game. That's why it's being praised all over social media, unlike Stellar Blade, unlike these other games that come out, because it's there following and adhering the standards that have been set by the political activist class that are controlling and manipulating and influencing the game industry with their political progressive ideals. We see this with Sweet Baby Inc. We see this with Ubisoft and their DEI department that is kind of stretched out all over the industry. This overall ideology that we have to remove the attractiveness, the appealing aspects of the gaming industry and replace it with something more in line with these standards that are not aesthetically pleasing, that are more in line with something that is stale and bland and gives no opportunity for reaction from the fan base. And I think that's what Concord is. Even though Concord is a massive failure, it gets the praises from the gaming journalists because it follows the standard that they want people to follow. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing, where people are supporting this game even though it's an abject failure. And we see the opposite for games like Bayonetta, Nier Automata, like Stellar Blade, that have these things that been in gaming for decades but are now rejected. This appealing and attractive look is now not the standard anymore, and I think it gets attacked. And I think that those attacks are leading to a lack of production of these sort of games, and we're just getting more bland content from Western games developers that are more in line with the political progressive ideals that are being set within the industry. And I think it's leading to massive failures with Concord. Concord is a game that barely has 500 people playing in its beta. It's just a game that is not attracting the gamer base. It's not even wish listed in the top 800. It's an 801. So it's just below expectations of anyone that wants to play a game, and it's leading to massive collapse within the video game industry with multiple studios going out of business. And it just makes you think, why the obsession of eliminating this playfulness, this attractiveness within the gaming industry? I think this Deadpool hypocrisy is kind of the main thing that showcases the difference that we're seeing within the industry, where this sort of thing is acceptable if it's a male character, it's unacceptable if it's a female character. And it's just showing this is the dichotomy that has been set within the industry. Attractiveness, making things appealing to a male audience, is absolutely unacceptable. Making things appealing to a female audience is somewhat acceptable. But even in the gaming industry, that to itself is not acceptable. You just look at Concord's characters, none of them are appealing. And I think that is the grave mistake that we're seeing within the industry, where they're not making anyone attractive anymore. And I think that is just the ultimate end goal within this political philosophy that is engaging in the industry right now, is to make everything ugly, everything uninteresting, everything bland, and mainly make everything inoffensive. And I think that is the goal, to make everything inoffensive. And to do that, you have to remove all the personality, all the attractiveness, all the uniqueness from the characters itself. And I think Concord is the quintessential game that represents that. And looking at Bayonetta, looking at Stellar Blade, what it's doing with the gaming industry itself, it's doing things that we haven't seen in decades, and it's become a massive success because of that. But it gets the hate because it's doing something that is not in line with industry standards. And I think with Deadpool, it's doing the same thing, but it's in line with industry standards for now. And how long will that be? I think the standard is always changing, where even male attractiveness is going to be something forbidden in the near future. But tell me what you think about the hypocrisy in gaming. Deadpool butt controller, acceptable for now. And I think that is the frustrating thing for anyone that's been a fan of all these other series, where we see this objectivity happening in the entertainment industry, where it's acceptable for men, but it's not acceptable for women. And it's just a hypocrisy that we see in gaming that's frustrating for all gamers. But you tell me your thoughts and comments on this situation. I'm just giving you my personal thoughts on this. I like to hear your thoughts. Like, comment, share, subscribe.